This is Martin Lingstuyl from the Netherlands speaking. I'm a Microsoft 365 architect at a small company in Holland called R4U Business Solutions. I'm also an Microsoft MVP since like 2 weeks now, which is an awesome being honored in that way for what I've been doing in the community. I'm a family man, I love cycling, and if you want to contact me, you can contact me through Twitter, GitHub, or using my blog. Be welcome to ask any questions. I've built an SPFX sample recently, and I'd like to demo for you how this is working. So the idea is that SharePoint currently has these great features to create new sites based on existing sites, which is awesome functionality. But we had a customer that would really like to allow users to copy views across sites and across lists and libraries towards other lists and libraries. So if you are a user and you have changed a single view, you would like to be able to copy that view and get your changes on the other lists as well. So the question was what it will copy. Well, it will copy which columns are visible. It will copy sorting mechanisms, grouping by group by. It will copy view formatting. It will copy filtering, stuff like that. But when a column is missing in the target list, so for example, you've got a list with a lot of columns, and one of those columns is on your view, and you're copying the view, and if that column is not available on the target list, that part of the view must not be copied. So the view must, of course, render valid and not invalid because there's some column missing. So this is basically the scenario. We build it, I build it, let's say that like that. I build it as a web part and an extension. So there's a lot of shared code in this sample. You can use it as a web part just to, set it in a central place to allow people to manage their views, or you can just use it from your lists and libraries and copy your views just very quickly. Let me just show you how it works. I'll just switch to my other screen. This is my dev tenant, and I've got this sample site with a sample document library, and this document library has got a very nice view. I've even called it a nice view. It's got a choice column and it's got some view formatting, and I have this copy views button right in the command bar. This is the ListView extension sample. So if I click it, okay, so the demo goals are not really favorable to me. I'm not seeing any errors, it just won't open. Let me just try if I can do it like this. Okay, so I've got this web part right on my screen. As you can see, not as an extension, but as a web part, and I have my current site selected. I can select a list or library. Let's select a documents library, and I can select a view that I want to copy. So let me select a nice view. Let me select a target list and click copy. And it will just copy the view as you see, and it will give you a nice view on the status of the actual copying. So this is basically what you can do with it. So for the ListView extension works in exactly the same way, but it will open a dialog. And I've literally used this hundreds of times last week. So it's a bit odd that it wouldn't work on the call today, but well, that's just, if you'd like to try it, download the sample and try it out yourself. Let me get back to the slide. So let me talk a bit about the component structure. So I'm using for this sample, I've used the class components, which is like the classic way of using React in TypeScript, the class components. And there's this big component, the parent component is called the copy views container. And within the copy views container, we've got a few child components, the source list view and the target list view form. And within those, we've got a few pickers. So we've got a source site picker, source list picker, list view picker, switchbox, and target list picker. Every time I change one of the values of one of the pickers, they'll communicate the value of that picker back to the central copy views container. And when I click the copy button, which is right on the right left, it will start copying the tasks. So basically, if you've got the structure of the React components, we are passing props and default values down through the pickers, and we're passing the choices back up through functions. And then in the end, if you click the copy button, which is a primary button from the Fluence UI repository, it will start copying stuff. So as soon as you click the copy view button, another component is rendered. It's the copy status component, and it will show a list of all tasks, and it will show also the status of that list using all kinds of default Fluence UI components. So important to notice that one copy task equals one source view and one target list. So if you're copying 2 views across to two lists, you'll see 4 tasks in this screen, and you can also click through to view how it's updated your target list. So let's get to some code. So this is basically what happens when you start the copy process. So as soon as I'm clicking the copy button, there's a list of tasks that will be created, and it will start a parallel execution using parallel promise.all. And as soon as a task is successful, it will just update the state of the task, and that will immediately be visible on the screen by nice check marks. So now onto the what's really going on below. We're using PnPjs to do the actual copying. So the first thing we do is to get everything we need. So we need some information from the source list. We need the view, we need the fields, and we need some information from the target list as well. So we need to know what fields are on there to be able to exclude fields that are not available on the target list. We need to see if the view is already available, so we can update it instead of add it. And as soon as we have all the information, we are going to build a properties object. And as you can see here, if you've worked with REST API or with PnPjs or with any SDK against SharePoint, you'll notice and recognize a lot of these properties. So there's a lot of classic view properties like row limit, hidden, include root folder. All those things are being updated on the target. All those things are being updated on the target list. And there's also some more modern properties like custom formatter and view type 2, which are being updated. But the most important one, of course, is the view query, because that's a CAML query, and that's the most complex one to update. And I'll show you a bit, because view filter query is basically a CAML query, so that might have the following structure. It shows a bit of XML, group by part, an order by part, and a condition, a part with a condition. And this might be very, very long, of course. I mean, if you have multiple and or conditions, there might be a very deep structure visible here. And in the end, if you have some column that only exists on my source list, then this view query needs to be parsed and needs to be changed. It needs to be changed, for example, if that column, some column that only exists on source list, if we have to remove that, it will need to look like the following on the right-hand side of the screen. The eventual view query that we use needs to be cleaned up, and field references need to be removed, etc. So how can we do that? I used the DOM parser for it. So I looked into a lot of options. You've got a few things like XML2JS, which can parse XML. But in the end, I decided, because we're running in a browser, and we can use the DOM parser API, which is a regular browser API, that you can parse a XML string and update it. And so basically what we're doing is just parse the XML of the view query. I'm adding a root element because that's not available by default in the view query property of the view. I'm parsing it as XML, and I'm going to remove some references and update the structure of the view query. So you can do a lot with the DOM parser. For example, if you got the reference CAML, I'm doing things like get all elements by tag name so that I have all the field references. So I can check if fields are in the CAML that are not on the target list. I can check, if I've got a field ref, is there a value node right next to it using next element sibling. I can remove those elements just from the CAML, from the XML elements. And I can also replace things. So basically, what I'm doing, what I'm doing is I check out what field references are in the CAML. I remove the field reference that are not available on the target list. I'm also removing value elements that are not on that are the sibling of those field references, and then I'm just cleaning it up. And now, of course, if you've got an AND or an OR condition, you need to there's an AND or OR condition always has two children, so you need to check if one of those children is removed, you need to collapse the structure a bit, which is what I did as well. So basically, if you've got some column that is missing, the entire CAML is being reformed into a very simple, a more simple CAML, and it will just work. It will just show how it should be. So that's basically what I did using the DOM parser. And well, if you've got the properties object with the new view query, we can just call SharePoint using PnPjs and add the view or update the view. And after adding or updating the view, we also have to update the view fields, which is a separate action. So we create a list of fields. We just remove the existing fields and add the new fields to the view. So what's currently not supported for this web part is the more modern Kanban and modern calendar type of views. I'm thinking, if you like to contribute, maybe you would like to pick this up. Kanban boards and modern calendar type boards, I did not support them in the first version because they require you to add a field as well. For example, the Kanban boards depends on a column with a few values. In this case, test bucket. So it will manage the buckets of the view. So you would need to add the field as well, instead of, what I'm currently doing is not doing anything with fields, just only creating and updating the view itself. But I'm open to, we're all open to contributions. So if you'd like, do pick it up. That's all for now. I've got a few resource links if you'd like to look at it. The samples in the samples repository. PnPjs, if you haven't worked with it, do try. It's an awesome library to use to communicate to SharePoint, and well, some documentation for the DOM parser API. That's it, Gary. Back to you.
Excellent demo. Thank you very much, Martin. Lots of claps and love hearts. It's definitely gone down very well. Thank you for coming on and sharing that with us.